There's just 1 minute to showtime.
The engines are on.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
When they wrote up the systems and the rule set that we use, did working people get to write a line? What class of men on pen and paper jotted down their clues, with capital the heart of their design? When 90 million want a thing, but some shareholders say no, which class of people get to have their way? The people read the fine print and say that this thing has got to go, and we'll start writing a new contract here today. Don't you know that hundreds will work and one man keeps the money? They don't think they gotta tell us why. When they say the new social contract, all the bosses will be gobsmacked and everyone will want a sign. Oh, yeah, everyone will want a sign.
Hello, cousins. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Social Contract. I am your host, Nicolette, and as you can see, I am Jaredless today. Jared is on assignment. It's not true, but that always sounds fancy when news people say it. So he's just got a complicated work schedule. So he's a very important person. So you're with me today. Um, but we've got, I say we, but it's just me. I'm just so used to talking for us both in the introductions. But we, meaning I, if I do it throughout the rest of the episode, which I definitely will. There are a lot of things that have been going on, and you may have noticed that we were off last week, which I will I will discuss a little bit here. I have to I'm running everything myself, so it's a little bit, which I usually do, but like he'll talk while I do some here's and there's and stuff. So it's going to be a little herky jerky here by myself, but and we're using a new streaming service that we just started using just a couple of weeks ago. So the one you used to use, I wasn't really able to share my screen very well without everything shutting down and freezing. And I've got some screen shares I want to do for this episode, so we're gonna work it out. We're gonna see and try to see and make everything work, and hopefully we'll get there. So once again, thank you for joining us for me today, keeping me company. I appreciate it. So last week it was kind of planned that we'd be off, and it was kind of not. Jared had some things he had to attend to, so I was planning on going on solo as like today. But then some stuff happened with me, and I kind of didn't feel like I could go on the air. And what that was that my cat died. Basically, the long and short of it. I had a cat. I was very old. I've always raised cats, and usually I had two at a time. And because of the way that things are expense-wise and his health, we hadn't really gotten a second one, even though we wanted to. So, issue being, he kind of just rapidly declined, and we had to go through the process we had to go through, and here's an image of him.
Into the video, maybe.
Super sweet dude, super funny guy. Which I know we all feel like our pets are like number one. And like I said, it's been like 30 years since I've been raising cats like my whole life. So at this point, it was very unusual to come home to an empty, petless house, a completely petless house. So as I was working through the loss of him, I was also working through the loss of the routine and picking up all of his items, which you don't realize there are so many until you start doing it. So the reason I bring it up is because my screen share is a little funky there. The reason I bring it up is because we know that we're basically all, white knuckling life, as we go through things and are trying to deal with things. Anyway, so everything is horrible, and that's why this show basically exists, not to perpetually remind you that everything is so bad, but just because we like to let you know that we know, the situation. We know, that we're going through the same things you're going through, which is why I bring it up, because you're like, okay, great. Why are we looking at your cat? Well, the reason why is because I didn't feel really like I had the fortitude to be able to come on and be my normal self. And this just happened, just about a week ago. So I'm still really not all the way there as that goes. But I felt like I could kind of handle things today. So the reason I bring it up is because I thought it would probably be a good moment to just make a mention about how we, deal with grief and loss in under these really strenuous living conditions. Because if we're all, we all deal with this. Most of us raise pets. Most of us always have some sort of animal in our life, and we all feel like it's the number one, and we're all right. So the fact of the matter is that we don't like to talk about the loss of them, or obviously people, but it's a factor of life. So in some ways, it's comforting to know that pretty much everyone in the world knows what this feels like to lose an animal or somebody or something close to them. And for a lot of people, that can be sometimes their pet is closer to them than other people. Sometimes their pet was involved in an illness or a hard time in their life. I really don't have to feel like that. You know what they are. But the idea is that it makes it harder to try not talk about it because they want to talk about it. So that's why I want to talk about it. Before we have to roll in with the other topics today. But the idea is that we do know we can take some comfort in the fact that everybody goes through this. Pretty much everybody goes through this. And if you generally always end up getting a new pet one way or another down the road, under adoption, somebody, you end up with one walks up to your house, that's how it goes. So, and that's a good comfort too, but you kind of have to give that time. You can't just run out and try to replace your pet, or you'll end up in a situation where maybe you feel like you've betrayed them in some way, or that you aren't bonding with the new one as well as you should be. And there can be some you can lose out on good time with a new person or a new animal. So there's kind of two components to it. And obviously I'm not a grief counselor, but again, I've been through this many times and it never gets easier. But this time I kind of tried to choose to look at it in a more positive light, or try to, and try to make something more positive out of it, because I know that I was going to be upset. I know that was going to linger, but I hoped that I could make some positive changes in my life and get myself mentally and emotionally prepared to start looking for another cat, down the road, and not right this second. Like I said, it's been a week. And the other thing about, I think, that I've learned through grieving animals is that you're always going to be stuck with the trauma of like their last, moment, their last thought. Usually you don't get lucky that they just, peacefully pass away at home. You usually have but even with that, they make that very easy on you, and luckily it was for us. But in the way that I'll take care of that with people, and sometimes our own family, like we're all there together, you always gotta be there. I'm definitely one of these people that says, like, don't just be like, here you go. No, you have got to be your best friend for your final moment, or like future. So, like, people are like, don't do that. Like, you're like, oh, I think you can handle it. Well, you got to. It's like, there's the tools how to make them up. But it also makes my own efforts where it's very internalizing how they express it. Which is not an excuse to, abuse the people around you or anything. But you can also take a little bit of comfort in knowing, like, this is what my feelings and this are mine. I don't have to share. I can feel the way I want to feel. I can be the way I want to be. So, with that said, I is something that's just a little bit helpful, and some stuff that I've learned, that where you can take some comfort in knowing that other people are dealing with what you're dealing with or have or will. And maybe if you're in a situation, you've got an ill pet, or maybe you're a rehab, or you deal with this quite often, or something like that. It doesn't get easier. And if you're going to have animals throughout the rest of your life, you're going to keep doing this over and over. So you might be like, why do we keep doing this? But it's sort of a lifetime of greatness, or a large span of greatness for a very bad time, very small bad time. So if you have gone through this recently and you're wondering if you want to adopt again, I hope that you do. There's so many, animals. I'm a cat person, but dogs are great too. So there's so many animals that really need help and really need homes. And we're in an economic period right now, which I don't have to really remind anybody, but we're in a situation right now where a lot of people, unfortunately, have had to surrender their animals. It's not necessarily because they're cruel and unfeeling. It's probably one of the worst feelings in the world. That because a lot of us treat our animals better than we treat ourselves for the most part. So, if you can help somebody out, or you can help an animal out, I definitely suggest getting back on the horse for real, because it's something we do as people for our own amusement and our own fun. We love cat videos. We love to have animals around us, and that's great. But we're also helping lives and saving lives. And I, really love rehabbers and the stories about rehabbers and foster people and that can do that, because I'm way too emotional for that kind of a thing. But that's where I would leave you on that topic. Is if you're going through this, or if you've gone through it recently and you're wondering, can I do it again? You definitely can do it again, because you've done it before, and at least you know what to expect, and you know that it's going to be hell, but you can get through it. And you're going to be helping and saving lives, and that's always what matters. And you get a lot of benefit out of a very small, thing that really sucks for everybody. And the fact that it sucks for everybody is a comfort. And the fact that you're on your own as well, in a way, and you have to kind of see your way through it. And the only way through is out. You can't skip it. You can't make it stop. You can't, none of this. It doesn't just go away. You can't just make it go away. You have to see it through, and it could take months. It could take years. You never forget that. But there's always going to be another somebody that, it really needs your love and has love to give. So, and maybe if you're in a place where you can't adopt, maybe make a donation if you can to, a shelter, or if you watch videos or something and you have a particular shelter or rescuer that you like, toss them a couple bucks. That's a good thing. So, not to be a total boner on opening the show, but that's where I was last week. That's where I am at right now. I'm in a pretty good place as far as that goes. Emotional for sure. Hoarse in my voice. Emotional for sure, but I'm getting through it for sure. And I'm happy to be getting through it. But I also bring that up because we tend to, when I'm in a situation where I'm like, oh, I gotta, kind of act at least a little bit professional, like myself, but like a little bit professional. I'm talking about important things that are affecting a lot of people in their lives, and so I shouldn't be a goof every minute of the day. But we also need to remember that we're all people at the end of the day, and there has been a lot of talk recently, in medical fields and in scientific fields, that, the loss of a pet can feel just as devastating as the loss of a human person in your life. And even, these horrible happenings and stuff that their HR departments, they're doing the same types of internal research a lot of the time. They're talking about how we get people back to work, and how we get the efficacy of after people have gone through these things. And so there's a question more recently is about, should people be able to take time off before you get their pet death? And I think people should look towards that, not just because that should happen, because again, we are all human people and are deserving of space and care from each other and our workplaces that should play on that. So I'm a big suggestion to you to get a little time off for that, because we don't explanation for that. But if I came on here and I was just like, everything's normal, everything's fine, I'm gonna forget, even me as a host, forget that, like, no, real things are happening routinely, there are things, there are events that are out of our control that we have to deal with. We don't like talking about it, but if we talk about it, maybe it makes it a little easier. So if again you're going through something like this, or you've got an old pet, it's on the way. My heart goes out to you, and I hope that if anything I said right now, knowing that I'm going through it has helped you. I hope that there's a benefit there and you could take something from it. So, and always try to reach out to your friends who are going through it. Even if it's somebody you don't know very well on Facebook or whatever, just put like a thank you, bless, start your off. It's helpful. It's very helpful. Okay. Let's move on from the personal stuff. And I am making it through. I'm not faking. I'm dealing with it. It is possible to feel more than one emotion at a time, and that's what I am doing. But in His spirit, I am moving forward. So, okay, and I'm closing tabs. I usually do all this stuff while Jared's giving his first presentation, and I'm going to do some channeling him, and I quote from an article here in a little bit because he likes to quote from articles, and I like to read stats. But that came a lot out of the old program I was using, not working very well when I would try to screen read on Chrome, and so it's American internet, right? So, anyways, so you guys been watching the international elections? I think you probably have. If you're watching this show, then you're probably abreast about what's going on in the UK and France, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on international election policy or international election style because they all differ. Everyone is a little bit different, but they all come to the same conclusion. Winner and loser, whether or not they have multiple rounds, whether or not they have multiple parties, like voting style, whether or not it's a complete uniparty situation like in the U.S., which I will get to, because this is really setting the stage of what the international community is looking for, as well as putting that laser focus now on the United States and the shit show that's going on here, the absolute best. Because in France and the French and the UK elections have been a real win for leftists here, and a win for leftists is a win for people. So, and then these people tended to notice that. And both of these countries are also very authoritarian, have very prominent right wing, the mouth around that, right wing, maybe not so much when you compare them to the United States and Europe, the drive behind all of that. We just talked about populism, we're not necessarily talking about the control what's going on here over but this is a poll done by YouGov recently, which I didn't pull it up because it's whatever. Where they just said, if you were voting in the UK election, who would you choose? And obviously Labour Party, is there. But when the cabinet is Americans all the overwhelming voted overwhelming. So no great surprise there. But they're not asking people in charge. They're asking just regular users. So that is the consensus. That tells you how American voters, American citizens, American people are thinking all the time about everything. They're thinking about their authoritative, conservative government in countries that they're not even going to probably ever visit in their life. But those countries are already pretty authoritarian as it goes. And are very and locked up with the United States. All the other we kind of all work together as far as that goes. And I don't know if you can tell everybody that we are of a very small group. Those of us on the left recognize very, very small group. That movement is growing, and I think it's growing in a way that the liberals who are using those monikers because they thought this technical part, the liberals who were talking to school to say, oh, I'm socialist. We didn't really know that. More on the left, we get a lot of that challenge their capitalism. types of sacrifice. There's a saying that we start here in God about there's because literally the fact is much more tied to capitalism back than ever. That people, people extremely capitalism. People that have that they're going to be the next Elon Musk or the next Jeff Bezos, and they're I'm having some sound issues, but not here. I can't hear myself speaking. Can't hear you. I'm seeing in the chat. Can't hear you. Technical issues. Technical issues. Let me close my mic off real quick. Okay. I don't know if that made it any better. What is it? Let me hear you in the chat. Did that make it any better? I can't hear myself through the mic. I can only hear myself talking. Are we any better? Okay, I'm going to go on. If this is continuing, I got my chat window open. Let me know. There's not much I can do. If it's just like sort of a fuck up with the mic, then I'm not sure. Jared doesn't like my mic. I can tell you that for sure. He doesn't like the way I sound. He's the sound expert. He's the musician, so you got to take his word for it. I'm sure, that he does it. I understand that for sure. But usually it at least works. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing anything else, so I think maybe we've got this. Maybe it's sorted. Okay, let me know. Let me know if you can't hear me. Where I was. Oh well. Okay. We'll just kind of we'll move ahead. Because basically we're talking about the same thing going on. That we don't know exactly. Okay, I'm still trying to check and make sure that everything's okay because I'm not really sure what the issue is, but it seems like okay. Whoops. And also, like I said, I'm still trying to figure out this new program, which I don't think would interfere with my mic. Okay, if we're back online, if everybody can hear me, let me know. Yeah, we always try to check on that. Yeah, Jared doesn't like my mic, and it's just your standard microphone. Like, but I could use a better one for sure. It's just that those things cost money. So I don't have any money, and that's kind of actually where I don't know if I've addressed this specifically. I feel like I have, but it all goes with what I'm talking about now, which is that. When I started doing these shows, and this brings me back to when I started on YouTube by myself. I was kind of back when I had some film, and I had getting a book ready for release, so I would go on and talk about that. And in that period, around the end of last year, the company that I contracted with, I didn't really do that. And they had model, and based off of people were, the contractors were submitting up to that point, and then they got rid of all the contractors. So I have been in basically that industry because of that stupidity has really been decimated. So now you can anticipate that the textbooks and study materials and educational materials that are coming out now, and we're talking about medical stuff like life-saving stuff, is written, generated, I should say, by AI. And that is not good, and that is very I'm not sure what would cause that. I think we might just have to work it out, like let it happen. I'm not super sure what would cause that. I don't have an answer to that question. Because my mic should be working. Everything looks like it's working. Everything shows that it's working. So, okay, I apologize. I'm not sure. It just might be one of those internet things. And, we just kind of work it out and see what happens. Really bad. Okay. Well, there's not really anything I could do to fix it. That's really where we are at the problem. Let me check on my hardware situation and see if there's anything can be done here from this point of view. Audio settings. Okay, is that any better? Is it the hurricane? I don't know. Curious thing about living in Indiana is it really doesn't matter which side of Florida it happens on, but the hurricanes break up over Indiana. So I don't think that's got anything to do with it. I'm not really sure if it's hardware or an internet issue. I switched to a lower mic. See if maybe that's making any difference. So just so long you can hear me, I can maybe figure out what the issue is later, but just so long that I'm getting through is really all that I care about at this point. So hopefully you can hear me at all. If not, I switched mics, so if not, then it's an internet issue, which I can't really control. So we're gonna push through. We're gonna push through, and then I will see if there's anything bad or anything. I was reading the word bad. If there's anything that I can do about it afterwards. It's the man trying to. Thank you in the chat. Someone says it's the man trying to silence you. Perhaps it was. I don't know. Anyways, so back to the international elections and our elections, because we're kind of getting on. So just so long as you can hear me at all right now, then that means it was probably an internet issue. And I'm running a lot of stuff at this moment, so that could have something to do with it as well. But we're working on it. You know how we all deal with the same problems. So with these international elections going in a direction that is really good for leftist politics and really good for people, that puts the attention and the onus back on the U.S. election coming up, which has been an absolute mess. Here, I'll ask this directly. Let's see. Let's see if we get an answer on that. So this bodes well for people and internationally. Here, I've got a little bit of a. Where is this at? Go away. Okay, yeah. So in France, what the party wants to do now, going forward, the leftist coalition going forward, they're looking at doing the basic things that everybody should have. They want to raise the minimum wage, obvious thing to do. They want to lower the retirement age to 60, obvious thing to do. Build affordable homes in mass. Freeze prices on food and energy. Things that you have to survive. This is stuff. Thanks Duh Monthly. This is like headlines right out of the front page of Duh Monthly. And invest in infrastructure. So obviously those things are what we also want as Americans and as pretty much anybody around the world. But with this capital-driven society that we live in, and the fact that there does seem to be more division between parties in these other countries, more so than there is here, then that kind of says that, like, yeah, it was possible. Still, it was a big surprise, I think, in both cases. But it does show you where people are at in their heads. They want to move away from these authoritative, capital-driven societies. They know that the world is pretty much a husk at this point, and it's time to move forward. And but I don't think we here should get too excited about that, because it's really not that likely to happen. Also, there was a here. I'll share the screen on this one again. Let me show you the video. We don't really need the sound for it, and that might have had something to do with it. Boop, boop, share. Okay. I don't speak French, but basically what this is saying is that France, the party also wants to and intends to recognize Palestine as a state, which is an ongoing issue, obviously, that we are always dealing with. And things are going crazy in my center today. I think the audio might be a combo situation. This time I tried to set my settings back. Point is that they're doing some very obvious things here, have some very obvious plans about where they want to go and what they want to do. And it's more people versus than it is here, because we are in a situation here where voting makes a difference, or it matters in the way we would be allowed to do it. That's basically where we are. And Jared differs from me a little bit. He's a little more optimistic on the voting thing than I am, but I've come to the conclusion of being a lifelong voter, voting since I was, 18 in every election since, that voting really doesn't get you anywhere. And if it did, we wouldn't have these stop blocks like, the electoral college who chooses things, and we wouldn't have these ridiculous scenarios that pop up like the hanging chads, nonsense. And there always seems to be something, or recount, or one party calling the other party a fraud, or this, that, and the other. So I'm now at the point where I have done the right in candidates, we have to write it, they're not on the ballot. In every state is right. If you have a ballot initiative in a smaller election, that you can vote in, and you might make a difference. And I definitely advocate for that. But if you have a place like Indiana, you may not realize dictates much of the policy in this country. You don't notice that, but it does, and that's always very bad policy for people, very good policy for corporations. But we don't have ballot initiatives, so they might absolutely question it and they word it crazily, but it makes no difference. It doesn't make any difference at all. You don't have any say or that's not there. It might be something like, did you ever think about in your lifetime, have you ever considered maybe that if cannabis was legal, then it might also be legal, but also be illegal? Should it also be legal or illegal? Those are what the ballot questions are. They're completely ridiculous questions, worded in completely ridiculous ways, but they ultimately have no impact. Plus, in terms of local elections, and even if we're talking about gubernatorial, which is a pretty big deal, but the small, even the lower that you get, some of these are Republican versus Republican, and or Republican unchallenged for multiple decades, like you live in some rural nowhere town, and it's a very active driving state. And then in terms of the gubernatorial races, it is like really terrible choices. It's a terrible choice versus a terrible choice. So I'm hearing what I'm still having. So I think that is internet related because I did switch my mind. So I'm not totally sure. That might have to do with screen sharing. Maybe the screen share might be fun. I'm not quite sure. I used to have problems with it, so I'm not going to share. I'll keep that close. But here when we talk about our own personal elections, we really should not anticipate anything like that actually happening following the because they are working from the door exam situation we're working from, and you wouldn't think so, but like America, like most of these countries wouldn't fall off the cliff, follow right over there. But we about playing off that it's going to be a little bit just try to bear with me. But in my screen, there's a restart screen. It may or may not work, but I'm going to try to come back on. me a second here.